Well, good afternoon. This is Dr. Paula Duren, and I am so pleased to be back with you today. And our goal at Universal Dementia is to kind of help fill vacuums and voids for caregivers and folks that are out there that might be dealing with issues. And because we're living in a time right now that I am finding, and probably a whole lot of folks are finding, that this stuff is happening. People who you knew yesterday, are gone. They were here yesterday and they're not here today. And it's one of those things that it was struggling. Some of us are struggling, some of us aren't. And there's so many people dealing with grief that I thought we would do this conversation and have this conversation with Mellannie Doneghy. And she's with Open Arms. And that's an organization that provides support, grief support and other support, counseling support for loved ones, for people that are involved with various kinds of grief, loss, and trauma. And so I am excited to have Mellannie with us. And I want to just start, and first of all, welcome you, Mellannie, to Universal Dementia's Thursday Sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. And I'm going to just say a couple of words, and I'm really looking forward to your sharing on this conversation. Because right now in the pandemic, what we're finding is that we've got a new reality. Grief and loss is every day. Yeah. At some point, you knew someone would die in your life, but grief and loss is every day. And some of us are struggling with it. And I bet you're getting lots of calls, lots of concerns. And I want to just ask you if you were, just tell us, first of all, introduce yourself for a moment, and then talk to us a minute about what Open Arms does. And then we'll get into a discussion on grief in particular.
Yes. So I am Mellannie Doneghy. I am a counselor, licensed professional counselor in the state of Michigan. I have been that for 25 years. I've been at Open Arms Grief and Loss for 4 years. I'm doing this. And so that's the service that we do. That's one of them. We provide services of grief and loss from young people from age 5 to 105. We also provide advocacy. We have crime victims advocates who go out and help people who've been hurt or affected by crime in any way. And so we have advocates who work with our consumers in that aspect also.
Great. And you said, how long have you been doing this work?
25 years.
Outstanding. And we appreciate the talent and gift you're sharing with us.
Thank you so much.
So are you starting to receive more calls right now for services?
So it feels like we are receiving more calls. And what was happening before is a lot of times we were doing things in group settings. So we would go to substance abuse agencies, or we would go to schools in different places. But what's happening right now is because we cannot go out like that, we're getting more calls for individual services. So yeah, I would say yes, more individual services, whereas we might have done groups before of 10 people. Those people are calling in kind of individually as they're filtering in through whomever is filtering them in, school counselors or counselors at the agencies and different places like that. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. So as you think about grief-related issues that you're hearing, what kinds of things are coming into your people? What kinds of issues are people bringing to you?
One of the things for Detroit especially is the intensity and the frequency in which death is occurring right now. Like you said earlier, we knew we would know somebody who, is going to die in our lifetime. We definitely know that was going to happen. But what we didn't know is from March of 2020 until we're in May right now of 2020, it would happen so frequently in the intensity. And so when I say frequently is you get a call, like every time you turn around, it felt like you were receiving a call. And if it wasn't somebody you knew, it was definitely somebody you knew who knew somebody was connected. And so it hit us very, very hard and fast in Detroit. The intensity was a lot because you had people who called and said, I wasn't feeling well, I'm not feeling that great. They go to the doctor, you're clear, you don't have COVID, you don't have any of this. And then the next thing you know, you got the next call and they had made their transition. So the intensity and the frequency is just been a lot.
And as we both know, in communities of color, the numbers are even higher, as you indicated in Detroit. I'm part of the dance community, not the best dancer, but I'm part of the dance community. And there have been so many losses in the dance community. Sometimes I start wondering how will we ever recover, if we will? And I said, if I'm asking that question as a psychologist, I said, I bet you some folks are out there every day as people are dying around them asking, how can we recover?
And
Um,
so someone told me that because it was, we're in the middle of a kind of political season, that March was kind of the high time for everybody to get together. So people were doing what politics and pancakes and the different meals, and the sheriffs were doing different things. And so when it hit like that, we were like, how did it hit like that? But exactly that. People were dancing, and that's a relief for people, just the ballroom and go out and dance. And then
yes.
it hit so quickly, right? In the middle of a time when we were already going out and doing things that we would normally do, but because this pandemic came, it changed the trajectory of just, of life.
Well, it's my understanding that everyone experiences grief differently,
Yeah.
and that we cannot say there's one approach to even demonstrating grief or even resolving grief. Can you talk a bit about what grief can look like for people, period?
Yeah. Grief can look like, and what we have to be mindful of is sometimes it can almost look like, well, it does look like depression. What we know is depression is the loss or the change in appetite, change in sleep, and what we call anhedonia, or loss of pleasurable things that we used to enjoy doing that we're not doing. Grief can affect it affects right now. One of the major things that it's affecting is our spirituality. People are like God, Allah, Jehovah, whoever you believe in. What is happening? Why is this happening? We did everything we needed to do. So in that respect, it's our questioning.
Mm,
Physically, it's changing. It even changes the way grief changes your makeup, and even how you breathe and how
mm,
you see things and how you perceive. Some people
really?
are locked up in the house. I don't even want to go out. I don't want to talk. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to associate with anybody. People who were before, going out and doing absolutely wonderful things, and right now they're closing down. One thing we need to know is in young people, grief doesn't always look like sadness. It looks like anger. It looks like aggression. So people will say, no, they were never sad, but they did change, their attitudes. They were angry. They were fighting. You touched them and they went almost Katie Kaboom. So, and mentally, spiritually, physically, it changes. It changes. And you're right, it's individual and collective right now. Sometimes if you have just a death in your family, it's an individual experience, but the world right now collectively is grieving. So we're learning it. People are doing it in all different ways right now.
Well, it's also my understanding that men and women grieve differently. Is that correct?
Yeah. So from my experience, it's absolutely that. Women, we're very social when we're grieving. So funerals are important to us, and going to sit down with your friends and talking. Men a lot of times will stay to themselves, or they'll work. They won't stop working. They'll keep doing things with their hands, and the family is like, slow down. We need to see you. We need to do whatever. But it's, we're taught from a young age, be a man, suck it up, man up, do all these things. And listen, if you've lost somebody that you love,
Okay.
you experience the same things. It's just the way that you react may be different.
Okay. Okay. And some other symptom signs or indicators might be I read somewhere about digestive problems or
Yeah.
losing focus.
Yeah.
Um,
Concentration, definitely.
okay. And I remember in graduate school, my house burnt down. And
Mhm.
so all of my research and all of my clothes and everything I had was destroyed except for the clothes I had on my body. And I was standing there looking at this empty space,
Mhm.
thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And my nature is to get organized.
Yeah.
I would need first of all, I need some clean clothes. I need some
Yeah.
money. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this.
Mhm.
And I got so organized, I got stuff in place and got it ready, but I didn't deal with the pain. I didn't deal with the loss at all. And do you know I developed a psychosomatic disorder? I lost bladder control.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
and people don't realize that it can also cause physical issues in your body, as you were describing.
Absolutely. And so we have to be mindful of that, because your body processes what's happening around you in the world all the time on every level. We process how things are happening. A lot of times, like I'm 50 years old. I can tell when I'm stressed. I can see now, I'm like, here comes this. I'm 50 years old. But that's what your body does. It
Yes.
processes in that kind of way. So yeah, we have to be in tune to what's happening to our body, how things are changing. I'm getting these aches and pains, but I haven't hit my arm. I haven't done this. So what's happening? We've got to be mindful of that. Yeah.
And I support a lot of caregivers who are taking care of loved ones with dementia-related diseases. And I see a lot of anticipatory grief.
Yeah.
How would you explain anticipatory grief to the folks who are listening?
And so what happens is, generally with anticipatory grief, that somebody has a condition. And with that condition, if somebody tells you it's stage 4, and we all, have this higher being, and we know that the God, can work miracles, but pretty much, that when you're in this stage and things start to shut down, that this is probably going to be the very next step. And so with that, sometimes we have this time to process. What we haven't had an ability to do during this COVID time is to process, because it's happening so very quickly. You're getting a call, somebody's in the hospital, they're okay, they're fine, everything is good for right now. Then you get the next call, they're linked on, on a ventilator. And then the next call, they've made their transition. So it's coming so fast right now that we're just trying to learn how to just kind of catch our breath, is what it feels like, to stay afloat in the midst of this that's going on all around us right now.
You just mentioned that during this time with COVID-19, that some of our typical ways of grieving are not there anymore. Talk a bit first about what are some of the things we traditionally might do to start the grieving process.
And so one of the things we do in the very beginning is the planning process. And planning looks like, as soon as it goes out, well, right now, pretty much social media, as soon as it goes out that someone has made their transition, phone calls start to come in. We know that. Food starts to come in. People start to come to your house to gather. They come and offer you all kinds of support. And so where the phone calls might be coming in right now, social media might be talking to people. Food sometimes is dropped off at doors right now. It is the human contact that's being missed right now. It's that part, because many times if someone has made their transition during COVID, it is assumed if the person was in the house with that person that they need to be quarantined also. So the support that we got, is very nurturing folk. We love up on folk. We hug. We do these different things, and we're not able to do that right now. And for some people, for most people, that's very difficult. And so that's just that part. And then you plan a funeral, which they tell you 10 people can be there. That's in their largest sanctuary, 10 people. They have to be 6 feet apart. So you're sitting there with someone you love, and you're watching them at the casket break down, and you can't go and hug them because you got to be, we don't want to catch this also, we don't want to do it. And it's not mean, it's just kind of survival. So we've lost a lot of those ways that we've been able to honor traditionally how we honor people who've made their transition.
And I know that we are also becoming creative. As you say, the traditional ways aren't working, but it's amazing the creativity that people are coming out with as ways and strategies to cope with our losses and our grief. Let's transition to that conversation. If you were going to give some advice or reflect on some coping strategies to help manage this moment, what kinds of things would you share?
So one of the things, as I'm talking to some of my coworkers who have been in the hospital, who are working, one of the things that happens is we're wearing masks, and I got my little designer mask here. We're wearing masks all day, every time we walk out. One of the things you have to make sure you're doing is taking care of your body. That's staying hydrated. That's even just going out and getting some fresh air. The weather's changing a little bit now, to open your windows and do some different things. And then the ways that you coped before, they still work for you. If dancing is something that works for you, turn on some music and dance, right? If praying is what you do, pray. If you like to cook, because people are cooking, they're even cooking and dropping off meals at people's homes. Do the things that you did, because that sense of routine and any bit of normalcy we can grab onto kind of keeps us semi-sane, is what we're working on right now. Right.
So one of the things I heard in there is that if you can keep some routines, that helps structure your day and your world, and the structure, that particular structure is very useful.
Exercise, just clearing the mask. I've heard of so many falls in the last few weeks because people are in those masks and they're not drinking, and they're still, you might go out and you drink and sip in your cup. People don't want to drink, they don't want to touch anything. So we're becoming dehydrated, right? Falling and doing different things that we didn't do before. So even just to go out and stretch your body and do some different things.
And dehydration, people don't realize sometimes how important water is, or some form of fluid like that, because it not only make you dizzy, it can also make you very confused. It can make you appear to have dementia. It's one of the things we tell people about before you say someone has dementia, start checking about their dehydration and how much fluids they're taking into their bodies.
Even your sleep patterns, and we know that. I've seen the signs on the freeway that say sleepy driving is like buzz driving. When you do not sleep, when your body doesn't get what it needs to rest, right, it acts in the same way. So we have to be mindful of those things also.
What about journaling? Do you think that journaling would be a healthy way to kind of start resolving or touching on your grief?
Yeah, journaling is an amazing way to journal for yourself. To even some people are journaling to the person that they lost. They're doing
Mhm.
that. One of the things I'm doing with I work with young people at the YMCA, and I'm having them write a letter to their right now in the middle of this COVID, and then write a letter to yourself of what are you going to look like? What's going to come out of this when this COVID is over? What are you going to look like? And then you look at that letter and do your comparison. Because right now, for some people, it just feels like it's not going to end. It's not. And we know that it is. We don't know when, but it will end. And so just even journaling those things right now, I tell people all the time, so many people have books inside of them they don't even realize. But
Mm,
put it down because you go, I will never forget this. And then you go 5, 10 days and go, I forgot what that was. But write it while you're in the intensity and in the moment of it, right? Yeah.
yeah. And some of that is beautiful stuff when you go back and look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So many things have been born out of pain. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? When I think
Yes.
of Save Our Sons and Daughters or Mothers Against Driving Drunk or just any wonderful thing, sometimes it's been born out of the most tragic pain that someone experienced, but they have taken it and made it a beacon of light for somebody else.
Well,
That
Melanie, you don't know this, but universal dementia was birthed out of pain
yeah,
because I was caring for both of my parents who both died from dementia related diseases.
yeah,
And I kept a journal.
yeah,
And in that journal, I kind of talked about what I was going through, what I was feeling, and the challenges, and what my issues were. And as a result of that, we're now
yeah.
6 years old as a nonprofit. So you're
Absolutely.
right. Out of your pain can come some wonderful gifts
Some wonderful
that are being
things.
given to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about things like you talked about eating properly, you talked about taking care of yourself. Some people feel like they're supposed to just be fixed and it's
Mhm.
supposed to be done really quick. What would you say to people like that? It's like it requires time to
It
heal.
requires so right now, when you go through the stages of grief, we've got denial and anger and bargaining and depression and acceptance. And now there's this new sixth stage that they're calling finding meaning. And it takes time. But what's happening right now is because we're processing it so quickly, we think that we've gotten through it quickly.
Okay.
And that's not the case. Even though you feel like I've accepted they're dead, I've moved on. That's not the truth. That stuff is going to come back to you, right? In a different time. When you have the time to process it, it's going to come to you. So no, it takes time. We have to. You should got to be aware of it. It's not something that we get over because people will say, well, it's been 10 years, I should be over. You never get over somebody that you loved and lost. How do you get through? How do I get through the other side and still remain, intact as a person? But it's not a get over ever. It's a get through. And how do I, use my supports and the different thing I can use to help me to get through? Because my coworker always says, the grief club is not a club that anybody signs up for. I just want to be in the grief. But no, but before we leave this place, we're all going to be a member of it. So how do we get through the other side? Yeah.
Wow, that's important. That's a very important statement. The other thing I was thinking is that because we're basically social distancing and it basically in our houses, um, sometimes we get really irritated with each other in the house.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and I wonder sometimes after the losses, is it a product of the loss or is it a product of being outside? It doesn't matter, but we need to be finding ways to stay connected to the people that are in our lives.
That's right. That's correct. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I don't have a she shed. I watch all these commercials about the she sheds, but you know what? So I go home. I love my family, but sometimes they've been in the house all day, so they are like, "Rrr," and I've gone to work. But what I do is I sit in my car for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I just let the window down. I let some air in, and I listen to some music to calm myself so that when I walk in. Because sometimes I tell them all the time, this might not belong to you, but I'm probably going to load it on you if I walk in here and y'all are driving me crazy. But you got to still do some things for yourself. What are you going to do to take care of you, in the midst of this? Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Our interviews are typically about 20 minutes or so because I appreciate the fact that you've taken time off of your job to share your thoughts and wisdom. As you reflect on other things you tell people that are dealing with grief, anything else pop for you or ideas or anything related to grief you think you want to share with us?
Yeah. So this is what I wanted to give you. I brought my nice little prop here. Can you see this gift? So what
Yes.
I say once again is in the middle of what you're going through. We all have things that we're going through at different levels and different places. You are kind of like this here, this beautifully wrapped gift. And then the question for you is, what are you going to do or give of yourself that you can help you, and in the process of that, help someone else if you can? Like you said, it was born out of the pain that you went through, but that gift right now is living on and living on, and you are blessing so many people. So how will you show up as this wonderful gift in the world to others?
That's beautiful. That's
Thank
really
you.
beautiful. Tell me, if people wanted to contact you or your organization, how would they do that?
We're at Open Arms, Grief and Loss. The number is 313-369-5780. We are right now doing online services either via Zoom. If you don't have the Zoom calls, we can do phone calls. Our services are free. You would just call, you do an intake, it gets you right in so we can start meeting. Now, eventually we're going to meet together in person and we'll be able to do all those things. But right now we're doing it via technology, just to make sure that we're still staying connected to people.
Great. Let me say thank you and share all kinds of appreciation to you. And I'm confident that people have gained something. I will post this information on our Facebook page so that if people wanted to contact Open Arms, that I welcome them, and I look forward to actually meeting you in person at some point.
Yes,
And
yes.
thank you so much for sharing your gifts. I wish I had a beautiful little red package with a bow that I could say, and here's a gift for you, for us to say thank you to you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.